Okay, so with standard form, it is laid out in this equation that you see here. You have basically x plus y equals a number. And you can have coefficients in front of x and y, or nothing. It might be nothing in front of x and y, which means it's a number 1. So this is the form you need to memorize. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. For example, if I have, I was just trying to think of an equation. Doesn't really matter. 2x plus 14y equals 36. This is in standard form. Okay, I could have x plus 2y equals 10. This is also in standard form. The x and the y on the left-hand side and the number on the right-hand side. So let's practice writing equations in standard form. Look at example 1. Put this in your journals. We have 2x minus 6y equals 4. Is this in standard form? Yeah. So the question that what they want you to do is write two equations similar to this that are, well, not similar, that are equivalent to this. When you're writing an equation that's equivalent to this, you can change the coefficients and the number. So what you would do is take this entire equation times a number. So let's just say times 2. So 2 times 2 is what? 4x. 6 times 2 is? And 4 times 2 is? 8. So this is an equivalent equation. Why do we know that it's equivalent? If I were to graph this, they would be on the exact same line. Okay, so there's one equation. Let's do another one. If I have x minus, I had, 2x minus 6y equals 4. So another way we could do this, instead of multiplying by 2, is dividing everything. So let's divide everything by 2. 2 divided by 2 is what? 1. So I can just write x. 6 divided by 2 is? And 4 divided by 2 is? So there's another version of an equivalent equation. The key is whatever you do to the left-hand side of the equal sign, you have to do the same to the right-hand side. You have to do it to everything. All right, let's look at example 2. All right, they would like us to write an equation in standard form of the line that you see in the graph. So what's the first thing I need to do in order to write this standard equation? What do we have over here? We have 2 points. We need to find the slope. Okay, so I'm going to go down how many? 1, 2, 3. So I went -3. And then I went over how many? 1. So my slope was just -3. Now remember, if counting on the graph is weird, you can always use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If they just give you the points and not the graph. So once I have the slope, I can automatically put this in our intercept form, right? Say yes. Now to solve for b, what would I do? I just plug in one of these points. Which one do we want to use? 1, 1. It'd be super quick. So I'm going to say 1 equals -3 times 1 plus b. So then I add the 3 to move it to the other side. So what does b equal? 3 plus 1 is 4. So my equation is now y equals negative 3x plus 4. So then the only other thing I have to do is put this in standard form. So how do I get this in standard form? I need the x and the y on the left-hand side. Right?
Yes.
So add the 3x. So then I have 3x, because x goes first, plus y equals 4. Do I now have it in standard form? Then you're done. Are you worried about any of that? Would you like me to do another one that's similar to that? You want to do one more? Let's do one more. So if I have 2 points, let's look at this one. And this is guided practice number 2. If you want to put this in your journals, you can choose to do so. So there's 1 point, and my other point is 2, negative 3. Okay, so I have 2 points, which means I can do what? Yep, I can find the slope. The slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So does it really matter which one? Nope. So I'm going to say negative 3 minus a negative 1 over 2 minus 3. When you have a negative next to a negative like that, it makes it a? So negative 3 plus 1 gives me negative 2. What's 2 minus 3? Negative 1. And negative 2 divided by negative 1 gives you a positive what? 2. So my slope is 2. So now I have this equation, y equals 2x plus b. I can plug in one of these points. Which one do we want to plug in? 3 and 1? Okay. So I'm going to have negative 1 equals 2 times 3 plus b. 2 times 3 is 6. So minus 6, minus 6. So I get b equals what? Negative 7. So then now I can write my equation y equals 2x minus 7. So then the last step is to put it in standard form. So I subtract the 2x. So I get negative 2x plus y equals negative 7. Is this in standard form? Absolutely. So that's your final answer. Any questions? All right. So now let's look at horizontal and vertical lines and see if those throw you for the loop. All right, so we have 2 lines here, red line and blue line. We'll call the blue line A and the red line B. They want you to write an equation for the specified line. When you have either a horizontal or vertical line, you're not going to have the whole y equals mx plus b because there's no slope. So there's nothing in front of x. So you're either going to have y equals a number or x equals a number. It just depends on which line, which axis the line crosses. So for A, which axis is this line crossing? The x-axis or the y-axis? That's hard for me to say. The x. So you're going to say x equals, and where does it cross?
2.
1, 2, 3. Oh, this crosses the y line, not the x line. The blue line is going across here, so it crosses our y line at -4. So you're going to say y equals -4. Now our red line is crossing which axis? The x-axis. So I'm going to say x equals, and where does it cross the x line? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the equation for that is x equals 4. Now if you look at the points, you'll notice this one says that my x value is 4. This one says my y value is -4. See how it matches our answers? It needs to. Okay, you understand how to write equations for horizontal or vertical lines now? Sorry, I got something in my eye. All right, let's look at example 4. Okay, looking at our graph, we're going to find the missing coefficient in the equation and then write the completed equation. So the missing coefficient is a, correct?
Yeah.
And then we'll write it in standard form. So we have a point shown on the line, and then we have our equation even though we're missing a coefficient. We have ax plus 3y equals 2. So looking at this, I have too many variables right now, right? I have an a missing, an x, and a y. But do I have information over here that I can use to solve for the missing variable? Yeah. This is a point, x and y, so I can plug in a -1 here and a 0 here to solve for a. So I'm going to say a times -1 plus 3 times 0 equals 2. Well, what's 3 times 0?
0.
So that's gone. A times -1 is just -1a equals 2. So how do I get the -1 away from the a? Divide by -1. So a equals, what's, very good, -2. So now can I rewrite the equation plugging in a?
Yeah.
So I say -2x plus 3y equals 2. Done. Easy, right? Good. You want me to do another equation with the missing coefficient, or you feel good? I mean, it's plug it in and solve. Good. All right, that's it. Your exercises. You're doing numbers 11 through 28, and then 31 through 36.